Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members. A motion for the resolution of Parliament to pay tribute to the late Dr. Tycoon Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, moved under Rules 56 and 57C of our Rules of Procedure of this Parliament of Uganda. Whereas the country woke up to the death of the late Tycoon Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, the founder and chairman of the BMK Group of companies, which occurred at Nairobi, Kenya, at Aga Khan Hospital on Friday, the 10th of September 2021. And whereas the said Dr. Tycoon Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige contributed to the growth of this economy, having started at the age of 14 in his father's restaurant in Masaka, later graduating to a petty trader and a big business mogul in Kampala, in Kenya, in Zambia, and in all other countries of the globe, including in the Far East, as far as Hong Kong, Japan, Thailand, to mention but a few. Aware that on his return from exile in 1986, BMK set up the now famous BMK Group of companies, importing spare parts, reconditioned vehicles, motorcycles, which was housed on Ginger Road and the Spring Road for what was to follow, that started the border business import in this country, which grew to a level of assembling and manufacturing of the famous BMK motorcycles, with various branches in Indeba, Katwe, Masaka, and later expanded the empire to the Republic of Kenya, Zambia, Rwanda, and China. Further aware that he did not shun competition, but rather encouraged and showed some of us that budding businesses is what was appropriate to do. BMK moved to Japan and China, overcoming the fear of risk and expansion. As a new entrant, he diversified into hotel business, starting the now famous Africana Hotel, which started as a small 50-room business, but later was to grow into a 50-rooms business with apartments alongside, and boasters of a 3,500-seater capacity of a conference of its like, where even Parliament of Uganda has been hosted on different occasions. That unlike other business persons in this country, he shared his trade secrets when he authored the book titled My Story of Building a Fortune in Africa. He was decorated with many honors, such as an honorary doctorate of philosophy in humanities, won the Umoja Helping Hearts Uganda Award, and recognition for many years of exceptional leadership and unconditional commitment towards humanity. He was chairman of the Uganda North American Association in the year 2000 and was part of the founding body of that organization. Furthermore, he was the founder of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, which has given birth to very many hotels in this country owned by indigenous Ugandans. He was the founder of the Uganda American Sickle Cell Rescue Fund, member of the Presidential Investor Roundtable. He won recognition for the commitment and dedication towards the successful completion of the Presidential Investors Roundtable 5 in 2015-2017. He was a member of the Private Sector Foundation of Uganda, won the Investors Year Award in 1997, won recognition for outstanding contribution to the Uganda North American Association years 2004 and 2005. He was decorated with the award of the Rafiki Award for Excellency in the local and international business in London, 2005. The Rotary Club of Kampala East Vocational Award for Distinguished Service to Hospitality in 2005, and Uganda Awards for Excellence for Outstanding Contribution in Business. Appreciating that in his philanthropy, BMK was starkly aware of the needs of the poor and society at large, whereupon he used his generous heart to donate to social causes by paying school fees to many disadvantaged students in this country of all forms, shape, and gender, building mosques and contributing to the construction of churches and community centers, financing the Uganda American Sickle Cell Rescue Fund, building, and this is very important to note, purchase of land that was gazetted as a cemetery in Inkowe in Impigi district for those that could not afford to lay their loved ones at their homes, or those who did not wish to lay their deceased in their ancestral homes. This cemetery alone has given home or has been a board for over 5,000 persons, and this has been a donation from him, from the Muslim community. He further provided space for the offices of the Uganda Hotel Owners Association, now therefore be resolved by this Parliament. 1. That Parliament collectively conveys its deep condolences to the bereaved family, relatives, friends, and people of Uganda at large for the loss of Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige. 2. That Parliament takes cognizance of the contribution made to the economy of Uganda by Dr. Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige. 3. In honor of the legacy he built and left by the late Dr. Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, that this House collectively urges the Minister responsible for Kampala, and in so doing the Executive, to rename the now Wampewo Avenue as BMK Avenue within a period of 7 days. 4. That we pray to the Almighty Allah, Creator of all creation, most merciful, most gracious, to sustain the bereaved family and grant Dr. Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige an eternal rest. The contributions of the late Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, known as BMK, to Mene are enormous. I cannot talk about them alone, but every one of us in this country knows that he was a man of good character and he was a man of all seasons. But we also know that Dr. Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, as an entrepreneur since 1986 and pre-1986, because before he started as a young man, he gave every simple young man through his writings that, listen, you can be there in the country, you can live to grow from the smallest that is despisable to building an empire, not only in Uganda, but outside Uganda and even in Asia. The dream that we can all conquer, the dream that we can all be, the dream that when you believe, you can make it, and that when you don't fear to make mistakes, you can iron them out and become a better person, whether in politics, in business, in trade, in religious affiliations. All round, we deserve to give him that attribute because he's a person you can look up to as young men and women who are trying to move strides forward. In Moroto, this is a sign that this gentleman was there not only to develop his people, but also develop the country. But I would like to also note that he did not leave out his family in the management of his businesses. He employed all his relatives and children, but his approach was very simple. He would crack the whip when it was desired. And the approach was also very simple. It was never up to bottom, where his kids would be led to grow from bottom to up. One of them recounts at the vigil, Ali Kibirige, that he employed one of the children and told them that the job I have for you is cleaning the rooms at the hotel. If you cannot do that job, you would rather leave. Hajat Hadija also remarked that BMK was a tough man. As her brother, one time, he sponsored her to go and do her master's degree. On return, he told her to go back and do a PhD. Remember, this was a primary dropout, but encouraging people to read hard. When she hesitated, he told her, "You're fired." And that was a message to the sister. And she had to oblige in one way or another, and she's pursuing her doctorate in philosophy in honor of BMK. He was a great contributor to music, art, and talent. You've seen very many shows that have been launched at the Hotel Africana. I'm sure most of you have attended these shows, and they have been granted to these musicians at subsidized prices. 2 years to live as a cancer patient, and the doctors told him that he only had 2 years to go. He rejected that. He recollected himself and even dared to write a book about, which is in the offing, how to fight cancer. Honorable members, it's not easy for anyone to come out here and Ugandans at large and be told that you'll only live for 2 years by doctors. Many people either run mad, others get mental health problems, but he remained strong, for he knew that Almighty Allah was the only one who had his calendar. BMK, during these 4 years of pain, was flown out here and there at a very high cost of over $750,000 plus for this treatment. Contributions came from friends and family, but he was always strong and he did not bow down to this reckless disease. Even many naysayers came out on internet to state that he had died at times, but he used to come out strongly and say, "I forgive you, but do not use blackmail around me."
Everybody wants to talk.
Right Honorable Speaker, the late BMK, as I wind up, lost, within these 4 years, lost the mother just 3 months ago, and he buried the mother. He was carried from the sick bed, and he buried the late mom. In the same period of 6 months, he lost a daughter, but he did not waver. He remained strong. Just like Job and just like Prophet Muhammad, peace be with him. Finally, as I conclude, I can describe BMK as courageous, humble, simple, generous, visionary, equitable, warm-hearted, polite, and finally Pan-Africans. Honorable members, with those few justifications, I would like to persuade this House to join me in the prayers that I have sought, that we pay tribute, recognize his contribution, and also rename the Wampewo Avenue and change it, persuade the Minister for Kampala, or enjoin on her as Parliament to get Council to change the name immediately from Wampewo Avenue to BMK. Wampewo was for the Impalas, but now we have Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige Avenue. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity, and thank you, honorable members.
I want to first take this opportunity to thank my colleague, the Honorable Msereko Muhammad, for moving this motion, which has unanimous support from all sides. Right Honorable Speaker, when your deeds speak for themselves, then words don't mean a lot. With BMK, whatever we say here, it will comfort the family, but his deeds, which have touched many, Right Honorable Speaker, will always change and impact on most of us who came to know him. Right Honorable Speaker, and indeed, like you told us earlier, that today is Democracy Day, very important day to celebrate the life of a giant who has benefited from the democracy ushered in by the NRM. And a very important day, Right Honorable Speaker, if you could allow me also to inform colleagues that this day of democracy coincides with the birthday of our President, His Excellency Yoweri Museveni. Happy birthday, our President. Right Honorable Speaker, there is no one who
Order.
could have...
Order, Madam Speaker.
I don't know what's wrong with someone's birthday
Honorable,
being...
you
Madam
sit down.
Speaker.
Sit down, sit down.
Madam Speaker, the President is on record. He said he doesn't know when he was born. Even when you read his book, The Mustard Seed, it is only most recent that he said his children attached a day for him to be able to celebrate. But he said himself, he doesn't know when he was born. Maybe the government chief whip was still young. So is the Honorable Government Whip in order to lie to Parliament that today is the birthday of His Excellency the President, who personally said he doesn't know when he was born?
By the way, I also want to extend my birthday wishes to the President. Today is the President's birthday. Happy birthday, President Museveni.
Right Honorable Speaker, no person could mourn the late BMK better than our President, who said this from Karamoja after learning about the death of this great entrepreneur. He said, "The country has lost a great entrepreneur and innovative business leader who profitably took advantage of Uganda's vast business opportunities to create jobs and incomes for our people." He added on that persistence and dedication to correct principles yielded positive results in the long run for BMK. And this is what was very different on the late BMK. He did business with Echibaro, what the President also calls Chura. That's with a calculation. Most of us, we just move. I met the son Haji in Guangzhou, China, where the family also helped has helped very many Ugandans, especially you could go to China, you're surrounded by Nigerians, but immediately BMK, after seeing that, put in place a mechanism of ensuring Ugandans who would want to do business in China are helped. That's a business with the calculation. Right Honorable Speaker, the virtues of honesty, the virtues of being principled, and the virtues of knowing, in fact, one of the biggest writings in BMK's book, he said, never eat the capital. Money belongs to the business, not the business owner. Most of us Africans and Ugandans at large, one of the biggest problems we have, we start by eating and then we save the balance. People like BMK have managed to build what they've built because they could first save and then eat after saving. That's even a loan. Someone goes to a bank after getting a loan, he first enjoys and then he goes to invest. You marry a second wife, then you go to invest. I think this is what we need to learn from BMK, that we should remain focused. If money belongs to a business, it's money for a business. If money belongs to a certain community, it's money for a community. So it's very, very important, Right Honorable, for some of us who are learning from him, that indeed a saving culture is needed in this country. And that rhymes very well with the message of the NRM around Emyoga, around even this parish model, where we must build the saving culture to fulfill the rigors of people like BMK. Right Honorable Speaker, the late BMK, whom my friend Nsereko has eulogized very well here, he preached and practiced unity. He built the Masjid Musa Mosque at Hotel Africana in memory of his son Musa, who passed away. But he was not limited by his love for Islam. He went ahead in Namiryango, Gomba, where he built a Catholic church in memory of his auntie who brought him up. Where you find one of us, we are looking at each other as if when you don't practice my religion, then you're not a right person. BMK was even going to build shelter for those other religions to ensure they can practice their religion very well. His belief was very simple, Right Honorable Speaker, that if you're a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're a Catholic, be a good Catholic. If you're Anglican, be a good Anglican. If not, if you're a pagan, be a very bad pagan, so that you know how bad it is to be a pagan, and then you change. Right Honorable Speaker, as government, we support this motion, and like Honorable Nsereko has prayed, we support the fact that the right procedure should be followed, so that indeed something very, very memorable, like Wampewo Avenue, can be renamed after the late Hajj BMK. I beg to submit, Right Honorable Speaker.
Right procedure. When you look at the KCCA Act, Section 3(2), KCCA is under the central government, and the central government is under us. So whatever we are doing it according to the law. And also when you look at Article 5(4) of the Constitution, it mandates us to be in charge of the central government. So whatever we are doing it according to the law, and we have the powers, and nobody out there should imagine that we don't have the powers. The powers are in this house. Honorable Mawanda. Honorable Mawanda is the second seconder. Mawanda. Members, we limit time so that we are able to have a number talk.
Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, I rise to support the motion paying tribute to the late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, popularly known as BMK. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, the story of the late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige is a story of an illustrious Ugandan entrepreneur who rose from a petty trader to owning a number of businesses in Uganda and abroad. The story of the late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige is a story of a hard-working man who persevered, was honest and diligent. The late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige espouses all the qualities of a good leader, including integrity, accountability, empathy, humility, resilience, vision, influence, and positivity. The late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige did not allow his humble background to define him. He established the BMK group of companies dealing in hotel business, importation of spare parts, reconditioned cars and motorcycles, manufacturing of plastics, real estate, including commercial and residential properties, farming, and education. He was a visionary leader who established businesses in other parts of the world, as already said, in Zambia, Thailand, and Hong Kong. Through those business undertakings, he provided jobs for Ugandans, contributed to the economic development of Uganda through the payment of taxes and importation and import substitution. The late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige undertook a number of projects for the benefit of the poor through provision of school fees, construction of schools, health facilities, and also contributed to the building of churches, mosques, as well as other religious projects. On a personal note, Right Honourable Speaker and members, I first met the late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige in Zambia in 1996, where he had established businesses. He was a generous man who wanted others to succeed in business and did not hesitate to lend a hand in the business success of other people. Indeed, when I met him in Zambia, he offered to accompany me to South Africa, Namibia, Angola, and then back to Zambia. I was pursuing a mobile telephone second national operator in Angola and Zambia. From then till his death, he remained a friend, and he has on very many occasions offered counsel to me in my business undertakings. Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, I pray that Ugandans emulate the late Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, who rose from obscurity
pass the prayers as presented. First of all, Right Honourable Speaker, we convey our condolences to the family and all Ugandans because BMK is a household name in the country, and we all feel touched by his demise. I want to concur with you that Parliament has the powers and authority to consider this motion and pass the prayers. I have heard the Lord Mayor of Kampala, Capital City Authority, complaining, but this is a matter which should not raise any complaints. But Parliament has authority in accordance with the Constitution and the other attendant legislations. There are many lessons which we pick from the life of BMK, and if we were to list all of them, we would probably sleep in this house. But let me pick one or two in the interest of time. I was just scanning through his book, somebody who drops out of school in P7 and rises to a stature which we all know. What this one teaches us is that what we need is opportunity, is space for us to exercise our talents and put our skills to work, and therefore every Ugandan or anybody who is born alive and grows can prosper depending on the environment and the opportunity provided to you. And did like the government chief whip earlier commented, we salute the environment in Uganda that can enable people like BMK to rise to greatness in the area of business and many other areas. And therefore, this is a very great lesson for our young people and for all of us in this country. We thank BMK for his big heart, because most often you find people who prosper, but then they either narrowly at different interests, but this is a person who helped many people, irrespective of your faith, irrespective of where you come from, whether he knew you or not. And he has also passed on this spirit among the family members, the children. Like you said, those who travel to Guangzhou, you know how members of his family, especially Haj Ali, helps Ugandans to do business and also make connections. I would like to appeal to the members of the family who are here to protect the legacy of BMK and also protect the business enterprises which he had set up. Most often, Africans especially start businesses and they don't involve their families, and when they die with their business empires. But BMK, I think to a great extent, brought in the family, and I'm sure whatever business enterprises he started, the family should be able to continue this business.
Thank you.
Cancer, that we have a great challenge, that cancer is on the rise. And maybe at some point we should find some time as Parliament and get maybe a report from Minister of Health, and we discuss this challenge of cancer, which is on the rise not only in Uganda but in the African environment, and we see what kind of solutions we can continue to propose to work with the government and other agencies to address this issue. I thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
The Lord Mayor, when you look at the Constitution, Article 5.4, it says Kampala, located in Buganda, shall be the capital city for Uganda and shall be administered by the central government. Then 5.6, Parliament shall, by law, make provisions for the administration and development of Kampala City as the KCCA. Then when you look at Section 3 of the KCCA Act, it's very clear that Kampala City is under the central government. So the power lies on the Parliament of Uganda. Honorable Bahati.
A second point, Madam Speaker, on the issue of the death of our brother BMK, is that the story of BMK is part of the story of the private sector development in this country. Out of the GDP of 40 billion now, US dollars, which is equivalent of 150 trillion, government, which is the treasury, only appropriates 40 trillion, meaning that 110 trillion is actually contributed by the private sector. And out of that, only 10% is actually contributed by our indigenous businesses. BMK was part of that contribution, and I think we need to appreciate his contribution as an indigenous businessman. The second, the story of BMK says to us and to many millions Ugandans that your background does not determine your destiny. Whatever circumstances you go through, when you are determined with God's grace, you can succeed in whatever situation. That is the story of BMK. Madam Speaker, BMK was a generous man. For example, I can disclose here that before the COVID, we used to organize the National Prayer Breakfast every 8th of October. BMK offered Parliament to use that hall for free as part of his contribution. So we want to appreciate him. We want to thank him and celebrate his life and wish him the very best, rather the best of luck to his family, and may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honorable Kasolo Haruna.
Thank you very much, Your Honorable. And it is true, my name is synonymous with the milk. Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable colleagues, in the first place, allow me to register my heartfelt condolences to the people, to the family of the late BMK, people of Uganda, and Africa at large. And Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank you very much for allowing the motion mover, Honorable Nsereko, space on the order paper to move this motion, because it does not only comfort the family, the bereaved family, but it also energizes the business community, the local investors, that we appreciate as government whatever they do to develop this country. Right Honorable Speaker, a lot has been said by the motion mover, but I must emphasize the late BMK was a nationalist because he did whatever he could to make serious contribution in terms of taxes to the development of the economy of Uganda. Number two, after His Excellency the President stabilizing security in northern Uganda, the late BMK took it upon himself to ensure regional economic and social balance. So he went and put a heavy investment in Moroto. Many Ugandans would love to invest in Kampala, the heart of Uganda, but this gentleman really went as far as Moroto and put a heavy investment and employed the Ugandans in that area. Right Honorable Speaker, Haj BMK was a secure investor. He could share whatever knowledge he had with all Ugandans that would approach him, irrespective of whether they were into the same business, but he could really advise. Unlike some of Ugandans that really want to be monopolies, Ugandans are going to miss Haj BMK. Right Honorable Speaker, the government chief whip has really emphasized the issue of saving. Honorable Nsereko has taken us through the ladders that late BMK climbed. You see, it does not necessarily mean that you must have a lot of capital in order for you to progressively invest in business. You must ensure that you embrace saving culture. Honorable colleagues, I would love all of us to save some money and invest so that we can make serious contribution towards the development of the economy. Number two, Right Honorable Speaker, we want to speak about where people have come from when they are still alive. Even members of parliament here, we have come from far. If you can share with Honorable Bahat here. How we came up, you see, from vending sweets on the Cavalry Street to now minister in charge of corporate, in charge of industry. You see, we need to write books so that Ugandans can really be encouraged, because it is not enough to see you enjoying when really people can never know, can never trace where you came from. Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to stop here, and I'm sure that the late BMK is now with God. Is now with God, and we must pray that may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Honorable BMK, that can help us know where he was coming from and where he ended there. You can acquire one. It would maybe help you. Public
Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I'm Grace Mary, Mrs. Mugasa, Minister of State, Public Service. I rise to support the motion, but I want to emphasize that the road called Wampewo Avenue should be renamed to Dr. Haj BMK, because this man broke the glass cylinder from primary 7 to doctorate. He broke the glass ceiling from primary 7 to doctorate. It is an award of actions. I therefore beg to move. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith?
Akut Faith, the district,
Members, 2 minutes.
the district woman representative for Napak. I support the motion to honor the late Dr. Alhaji Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige, a man who loved humanity. When identifying where to put his investment, he chose to invest in Karamoja, even when the return of investment was not guaranteed. So he invested the bigger part of his investment there to put up Hotel Africana in Moroto. Very few businessmen can take a risk of that kind. So he saw our potential as a region when other people could not see it. He saw our potential and he put in his money there on the hope that it would yield. Unfortunately, he has died before getting that return. I pray that the family will get, that God will make sure that business progresses so that the family gets a return on investment for believing in us as a region. As if that wasn't enough, he sponsored a number of children in his wood. He gave them an education. Those who wouldn't otherwise have access to education, he gave them an education. When the news came that he had passed on, the people in Moroto and in many parts of Karamoja set up fire camps. That's our method of mourning a person we love so dearly. So we miss him too much, because there are very few people in Uganda of his kind who look beyond profitability and also invest in humanity. Invest in the hope that there is something of value that will come from these people also. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you, Faith.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I also rise as a proponent of the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, I've been privileged to read 2 very important writings of Dr. Alhaji BMK. One is the book that has been laid on the table, which is My Story of Building a Fortune in Africa. One very important thing that as a young person I've learned from his book is the virtue of resilience. Right Honorable Speaker, Dr. BMK shares a story of his maiden business trip to Japan via Hong Kong, and he lost a bag that had $52,000 in 1982. That was approximately 190 million Uganda shillings currently. The story of how a person is able to pick up even after losing everything that he went with is one that most of our people need to learn from. Finally, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to commend the late Dr. BMK for availing many employment opportunities to the young people of this country, especially the region that I represent, which is Karamoja. The Hotel Africana in Moroto provides many opportunities for our young people. May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Lillian Abe, the woman MP of Kitgum. Mr. Speaker, I rise up to support the motion. Right Honorable Speaker, the statesman we are talking about has had impact on the people of Kitgum. Right Honorable Speaker, when I was still the chairperson of the Youth Council, I met a young person who had been given a scholarship to go and study in Canada. And this young man didn't have any hope. Somehow, we thought about going to Mr. BMK, because we were told he likes helping people. We went and met him at Hotel Africana. He did not hesitate. These were his statements. I will support you, go study, but make sure you come back to the country and invest here. Today, as we speak, this young man is a doctor. Secondly, there is a white woman who left Australia called Irene Gleason, late Irene Gleason. This lady sold everything she had, came and settled in Kitgum district during the wartime to help the people. May her soul rest in eternal peace. She also passed on to cancer. And every year we organize what we call charity walk to fundraise to support the initiative she had started. Mr. BMK every year contributes to the charity walk in support of the children the Irene Gleason's Foundation is taking care of. The testimonies are many. If I may conclude with another testimony. Mr. BMK, again when I was in the youth council, a lady came to my office with a sickle cell young daughter. I first went to Honorable Joyce Bagala. She referred me again to Mr. BMK. When I went to him, he picked a phone, called abroad in US. This child is being taken care of by a foundation in US. We have lost a statesman, we have lost a good man, and I want to urge Ugandans that when we are still living on this planet, those whom God has blessed with money, sow a seed to support Ugandans. Sow a seed to support humanity. Then we will remember you the way we are remembering you here today. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
During the burial of the late BMK, you said, if I quote you correctly, that will make sure BMK is honored for the contribution he has made to this country.
As an entrepreneur, as a legislator from Central Division, Arua City, I stand to pay tribute to the late BMK for the wonderful things he has done in this country. He has really been a nationalist. He has been a patriot. When Honorable Nsereko elaborated on the achievements, I said I can't sit down and fail to say we pay tribute together. I have personally benefited from attending workshops in Hotel Africana. As I talk now, the late BMK didn't only go to Karamoja and other parts of this country. As I talk now, when you enter Arua City, you will see a well-leveled ground with containers and equipments written Hotel Africana. That means he recognizes the country. He recognizes the country as his own and he wishes to develop across the country.
Christine.
Thank you very much.
That time we had issues in Busoga of inadequate mosques, children who wanted to go to school, and then the government chief whip then, Kasole Justin Lumumba, introduced me to BMK. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to testify before this House that BMK supported the people of Busoga, especially the Muslim community. Children went to school out of his support. Mosques were built out of his support. He was a statesman. He was a person who had a heart that supported someone in need. And he did this wholeheartedly. And I want to implore all the other Ugandans and all of us, members of parliament, business community, and everybody, when you have the chance of helping, please help. This seed
I beg to submit.
Very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to support the motion raised by the Honorable Muhammad Nsereko to pay tribute to BMK Bulayimu Mayanja Kibirige. Right Honorable Speaker, I have a consanguineal relationship with the Honorable Mayanja Kibirige through marriage. My nephews, one of them married to the Honorable Betty Naluyima, MP Wakiso District, is a sister to BMK's first wife. And so we've been together for many years through this journey. And he's been into our family for a long time. The time I remember very well is when my nephews were getting married. And when he appeared, everybody wanted to seat him in front, and he sat at the back. We said, but you're an important person in the family. He said, no, please. I'm just a member like any of you. At one point, my mother was very sick and we were in Germany in 2019, April, to remember very well. He had already started traveling around the world seeking treatment for cancer. We had already known as a family that he had cancer. So when we met him in Germany, there was another old Ugandan lady, very sick. BMK came to the hospital. St. Augustine, I remember very well. He knelt down to greet this old lady. I looked at a very rich man, a very humble person. I cannot really understand. He was a man with a meek and very composed demeanor. You really couldn't understand him if you didn't know him. You wouldn't tell that this is the man who built an empire in Uganda. He looked so normal. But what impressed me most at the last days of his life, he involved all his children in his businesses. He told them what to do after he's long gone. And on the day of his burial, where the Honorable Betty Naluyima represented the family, I attended throughout Zoom, and I saw you, the Right Honorable Speaker, at the place. I saw how the children eulogized him and spoke about how they are going to keep that empire. I was really impressed that they know each and everything, every connection he had out of Uganda. And I'm glad they will take this to another level. And I want to appeal to you members that it pays a lot, I think, to be humble. This man has earned a name, and may God continue blessing his soul in eternal peace.
First and foremost, I am aware of Wampewo Avenue, a very prime area, full of business properties, and I do know the inconveniences and the expenditure that comes with changing a name of the road. You know, correspondences, letterheads are all written in the name of Wampewo Avenue, including land titles. But, Right Honorable Speaker, given the knowledge we've had about BMK, he deserves to be named after Wampewo Avenue over and above the inconveniences and the costs that will be associated with the change. Last but not least, we should not hide from the shame, most especially from the side seated on your right, Right Honorable Speaker. A man who has been paying tax, who has taken care of sickle cells much as he doesn't have a sickler in his family. For him to have cancer and move to Nairobi, yet the basis of tax is for government to provide service. Right Honorable Speaker, at a day like this, decisions should be made after reflecting on that. We should examine the Cancer Institute and know what exactly is missing such that Parliament works towards putting that right. I do not know of any other big person that should die to bring down the people seated on your right, the government, the executive, to bring them down to think on how to improve some of these services. For long, the Cancer Institute ran without a radiology. Well, that was in the 10th Parliament. So, Right Honourable Speaker, I seek your leave to proceed through Rule 59, Sub-Rule 1, Sub-Rule K, to move a motion without notice that the Ministry of Health gives us the status of the Cancer Institute so that we know what it can be able to handle and what it can't handle. We should be treating Ugandans from Uganda. I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable. Is the Cancer Institute in Uganda is working. Dr. BMK did not go to Nairobi because there was no hospital in Uganda. If money could save a person, if you are there to listen to what was said at the funeral, how doctor went to all the best hospitals, if money could save, then Dr. BMK wouldn't have died. It's not about not having a hospital here. Cancer is cancer. And it's not time for a blame game. We have a hospital, we have a cancer institute, and doctor tried all his best and went to all the best hospitals. He even went on the net and searched for the best cancer hospital. And it was in which country? And in Germany, and he got the treatment, but it could not help. It was not anything about money. He had the money. Atkins?
The death of BMK caps a chapter very difficult for many reasons, and I will be particular to the Muslim community. We've lost quite a number of eminent Muslims in this country. I don't speak as a Muslim in this parliament. But we lost Haji Katongole, Dr. Anas Kalisa, we lost eminent sheikhs, Muzata, so many. It has been a difficult time for that community, those of us who closely work with it. But the death of BMK hit us quite hard. And for many reasons, Honorable Nsereka and others who are here, and Honorable Kasol, across the board, and Hajat, you know how far in this country it has been to come, how far the Muslim community has come from this country, from colonial days. It has been a difficult journey. Now, for BMK to rise to this level, it was very difficult to break and reach the ceiling. So we celebrate a life and an achievement of a humble person. But, Honorable Speaker, I also want to draw this country to a very big thing. We roll over red carpet for foreign investors and fall over them and give them all kinds of incentives. But let us know, out in our villages, there are really a talent this country can tap and develop Uganda. We give so much to foreign investors, and we give them a lot of things. We forget that in our villages, a humble young man who stopped in primary 3 can raise to the level of BMK. So how many BMKs can we help if they were given the incentive that we give foreigners? Right, Honorable Speaker, it is even in the education sector. Today is becoming an exclusive club of the rich, of the well-connected. Had it been that way, we would never even had President Museveni. He was the son of the poorest of the poor. So can we now look forward as we celebrate the life of BMK, introspect and see what we can best do as a country to help so many other humble people who have a talent. And there are so many who can make it in life. Right, Honorable Speaker, as I end my tribute, We also have, let me speak briefly as the chairman of the Uganda caucus. BMK has lived true as an African. There are so many rich and educated people who deny their tribal and ethnical belonging. He remained loyal to the king.
For a man like this, and a very rich businessman, reminds us that despite our riches, despite the authority we have, vanity is vanity. And therefore, we don't have to be very proud. We don't have to oppress others. We don't have to shout others down. After all, at the end of the day, the journey is the same. But two, that success and hard work leads, that determination and hard work leads to success. He did not have to steal to be successful. No, I was with the Honorable Kasoro at a meeting in Zambia some time back, and we were told how Hotel Africana was doing very well in Zambia. Very well. We had gone for a pension scheme training and meeting. This man has succeeded almost everywhere, but you don't trace any record of corruption or stealing like some other people want to do. So I want to salute him. I want to salute all the businessmen who have succeeded without stealing. And if all of us could do that, because now we know that at the end of the day, there is nothing impossible under the sun, that if you work very hard, you'll...
Nelson Mandela once said that it always seems impossible until it's done. And that's been the life of Dr. BMK. He has exuded that from a very humble background, and here we are celebrating him. So it's a source of encouragement. I just want to focus on one thing, and the Chief Whip, the government Chief Whip has left. He mentioned something that tickled me. He said one of the things to learn from the late Dr. BMK was his sound financial principles. And he talked about how he would acquire a loan and make good use of it. I actually hope we can practically learn these things as opposed to just talking about them, that we are learning and yet we are not learning. Because I thought about our debt to GDP ratio as a country. And then I thought about the many non-performing loans we have as a country, that we shall borrow money and then plan later to use that money. So it will remain idle for a year or two. We are paying interest meanwhile, but the money is lying idle. So let's be serious when we say we are learning from great men like Dr. BMK, and we actually apply those principles here. Otherwise, it's not enough for us to say these things, get everybody excited, and then say we have learned from him, and yet we have learned zero, zilch. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you.
To thank the late for the uplifting of the art industry. Initially, we used to organize shows in local places, bars, mention it. But when we approached the late BMK, we were like, we want to tap on the corporate world. BMK never resisted. He gave us Africana, and Africana is one of the venues where one of the fastest corporate event was organized. And from then, we began tapping on the corporate world that never used to come to our bikaris that we used to be in. Right Honorable Speaker, we have many BMKs. As we celebrate the life of BMK, comrades, I know you remember very well Sembule Steel Mills or Sembule Group of Companies. As we celebrate BMK, there are many BMKs rotting. And I think we would interest ourselves in knowing the whereabouts of the Sembules. Sembule was a very big company that we used to come from wherever primary schools to come and pay a visit to see how companies operate. Sembule at one time wanted the government to borrow it $7 billion. This company collapsed. because the government could not borrow, not give it, but borrow Sembule, an indigenous company. So I beg to move.
This opportunity for Rikodam Geoffrey Kayemba Solo from Bokoma Simbi South. I feel humbled this house to be celebrating the son of Greater Masaka, the son of Voodoo, who came to Kampala and expanded the wings to the world. My proposal is, as people of Masaka, we have a road from Chabakuza to Matete, which passes via Bokoma Simbi. Good enough, Mr. Muhammad Nsereko comes from the same place. As a contribution and a sign of honor to the people of Greater Masaka, who produced that child, the government, I request the government to tamaka that road. Whenever we pass on it, we will say now the government was happy because of BMK who came from Greater Masaka. I beg to submit.
Honorable, 3 brief points. I was pleased recently when Makerere University invited late Dr. Mulwana, which I bestowed him professorship, and Wavamuno to begin teaching in their business college. I hope that's how it is called. In America, successful businessmen are invited to speak to university. Wealth is not distributed. You cannot make people wealthy by operations. You learn from people who have made it. You learn from BMK, from Rwanda, from Wavamuno. What the government does is to provide the environment. So my brother, the Honorable Minister for Microfinance, you don't have to carry money on your head to make people wealthy. You just have to take, because there is no money that BMK came with from Masaka. He didn't. He came with his head. And now we are celebrating his achievement. The first time I read about his hotel 2 decades ago, he was asked by then a local newspaper called Ngao, the one thing that he would want to do before he dies. And Madam Speaker, 1 minute, completion of Hotel Africana. Madam Speaker, I support the motion that we name that road just next to his hotel, BMK Road. And the road mayor is not here. He's not opposed to naming. He was only saying they need to be involved as the local authority. And I spoke to him about it. He's actually very happy. So the process Madam Speaker has proposed by you is going to be very easy because everybody is in support. Finally, Madam Speaker, the artificial tycoons, these ones who are seasonal, every procurement, government procurement is going to lead to birth of another tycoon. We need the BMKs, Honorable Bahati and Honorable Kasoro, who are in that sector, to get them to teach people how to make money. They should stop hanging around government offices waiting for the next procurement.
Honorable Semuju, don't name people here.
I am not naming, I am only asking ministers. So those people who are hanging around your offices waiting for the next procurement to make them rich, give each one of them a copy of BMK's book. See how money is made. You don't go and carry money in a sack after one procurement and you become a seasonal tycoon. That's why, I mean, look at India, 800 middle class, 800 million middle class. So the artificial tycoons here who are involved in every scandal, they cannot make a country rich. But
Nsanja,